Good evening, guys. How you all doing out there? Right, I'm just back home. My work is just non-stop at present, so apologies to those waiting for information about some of the saws. So if any of you remember my last batch of saws, there were, I'm not sure the exact number actually, I know that's ridiculous, but around 60-ish, something like that. And some of the saws are just, well, the majority of them are all collector's items, but some of them are just in the most gorgeous condition, and some of the other ones are in, which we'll come on to, in a condition which, you know, they might be rescuable by somebody, or maybe they're just great for show, or maybe they're just amazing part saws. So tonight I've dragged out a few of the Jonsereds, so I'm going to show 3 or 4 of them tonight, and actually really interesting as well, because you don't tend to get the chance to show some of these old models back to back, which look, well, ostensibly, on the face of it, they look identical. You can barely tell them apart, in fact. There's a couple here just like that. So this guy had an amazing collection, and interestingly, on his Jonsered saws, he had a lot of the saws which finished with the 1 designation. So lots of people will know the Jonsered 60, the 70, the 80, the 90, but you less frequently see a Raket 601. You very, what are the other ones he had? Yeah, 601. Okay, so you're familiar with the 80s. In the back is the 801 with the louvred back. There's the gorgeous 75s. And this girl is the 751. So for some reason he'd, even as well, from the saws you rarely see, like the 50, he has the 51. It's just, but really unusual model designation changes. So actually these 2 are great to show it on. This one's an amazing saw. So this is one of his show saws. This is the Raket, Norwegian Rocket, the Raket 601, and they call them a 601. You'd think it was a 60cc, but they're 45-35, so they're nominal 56cc and 2.6 kilowatts around there. Real ferocious engine as well. So it's about 3.5 horsepower, about 3.5 horsepower, and so the Raket 60 started life first. Dreadful side cover, and same displacement. They look almost identical, but the way you tell them apart is similar on the 7 and the 751 as well. The Raket 60 has just a throttle trigger. The 601 has a little baby throttle lock trigger behind it. Clutch covers, top covers the same coil, same everything else is practically the same. Pull start housing, metal finned. This one has the steel mesh, and interestingly, if the pull start housing is missing, the 60s run a cog on the center of the flywheel, and the 601s, the Rakets, run a conventional metal starter pulls. Tiny differences, really tiny. So right, this girl then, this girl was one of his show saws, doesn't cut with it, 14-inch period bar, Oregon, what's an Oregon, it's a steel full chisel chain. And that's interesting as well, because when these saws are running well, they're gorgeous. Let me see how this girl will start for us. So, as I say, one of his show saws, just hanging up. Somewhere he's located a brand new, which some of the later 601s apparently came with a brand new correct silver side cover. I think I've seen that maybe one other time ever. No brakes on the top, just beautiful. And the only brake is this tiny little brake which they tend to get around that weak spot where the spring comes out for the pull start housing. And oiling, throttling beautifully. There we go. So that was one of his 601s, and there were several. And then he had, there were some really heavily challenged part saws. So we're going to call this a part saw. So I'm going to put this one up for sale as well, but they're all going up for sale. So this is the Raket 60. Loads of damage on the side cover. Let's take that off, but you know, if it's was holding on a bar and you were desperate to do some work, the tensioner section's there. So really badly broken side cover, really clean on the inside, but this girl exhibits one of the problems these saws tend to get, which is they hunt frequently, and typically, no disrespect to him either, because loads of people do it, the manifolds on these are a real weakness for over tightening. Very slim plastic manifolds, people tend to get, they over tighten them, they pull the captive nuts which hold on the carburettor out and then have an air leak. And it's just, you see it so many times, or if that's not the case, then they actually crack the plastic manifold, then do it up too tight, then they have an air leak. And if it's not that, then they've been running hot because they've cracked that, and then they're drawing air through the seals. So let me see how this girl's going to start, if she will start. So what has she got missing? Part saw. So this is a Raket 60. She is missing a kill switch, excellent top cover, dreadful side cover, excellent clutch, really nice looking exhaust, tiny indent on the tank there, looks like a baby cracked, no oil coming out of it, some fins missing air filter. So other than that, looks absolutely complete. Bit of choke. Well, I thought she was going to start, but obviously not. Well guys, that's strange because she's a runner, but there you go. So we'll stop it with choke and throttle. So got to remember to have throttle lock on and choke when you want to start them. So starts, runs, strange, isn't it? Throttles really well at the top end, but definitely pulling air somewhere. So I spoke to this guy about so many different saws I can barely remember. So he believes he's done the inlet manifold on this saw and doesn't think it's leaking air. Okay, which means that should be checked. And says he's done the fuel pickup, and I'm not going to say the chap's name, but if you're watching, you know I don't mean any offence. So So those things should just be double checked in case they're leaking. They're really prone to leaking. It's obviously pulling air somewhere, or because it's so what are the problems it has apparent then? So it's not pumping out any oil, and oiler looks present. Hard to tell, but if it's been stood a very long time, then the screen should be checked. The pickup for the fuel pipe or the oil pipe from the base of the screen up to the pump, etc. Or maybe the O-rings need doing, but okay, so it's not oiling. And is there anything else to say about that? No, that's probably it. Oh, and the handles had a repair, but it's amazing source of spares. So these girls started life in 1960. Were they 65 or 64, 66, 66? Okay, I think interesting as well. Certain documentation lists these as 1966, and the Raket started about, the Raket 601 with the change to the pull start housing started life in 69. So those dates are roughly correct. Without getting into too much detail, they're roughly correct. Let's see if this girl will start again. So, no trouble starting, great ignition setup, felling spike, clutch drum looks immaculate, no brakes to the lid. Okay, hopefully some great spare parts for somebody there. Hopefully. The 751. These are gorgeous saws as well. So, interestingly then, so these girls then, the 751. Again, late 60s, 69, 70, good enough. And 50mm piston, 38mm stroke. The 80s, the 80 runs are running a 52, 38. And this girl is running this gorgeous original. They did electric stamping, pin stamping on the guide bar. This has got a genuine 1970s Norwegian guide bar fitted to it, and beautiful side cover, no brakes to the top cover, hole in the exhaust, tiny dink again down on this starter. That's both of those. This one's got a little dink there on its starter on the pull start housing. Correct filler caps. Just lovely. Double trigger, springs gone in the back, air filter present. Just a gorgeous clean saw. The wrong bar nuts on here. They're supposed to be half height ones. The Jonsered ones look like lock nuts. They're half height. This side cover, as beautiful as it is, I'm gonna have a chat to him, because I think that was the only ones that were there. But I'm pretty sure this is for although it's the same bar fitment, there's a tiny gap here, and I'm pretty sure that is for, that's not an XF, that's for almost identical model. But anyway, gorgeous side cover, but not quite right. Retains it. Let me show you how this girl runs. So, almost the same, tiny bit of hunting, a little bit, or a lot. Oh! Oh! Or maybe she don't want to start either. Okay, choke and throttle lock. So lovely at the top end, absolutely gorgeous at the top end, and as ferocious a compression as you're going to get on a 50-year-old beautiful Scandinavian saw. So has the hunting, and strangely as well, like this door, no oil coming out. This door's not oiling either, but the 751s are a rare creature. Again, a very small window of manufacture, and just a gorgeous, gorgeous workshop show saw. Hopefully that'll find a home for somebody that absolutely loves these as much as I do. I can't simply keep as many as have arrived. It's just a crazy amount. So things to bear in mind: tiny hole in the exhaust, simple to patch, but nice to see it as it is. Chain oiler, I don't know if I saw a splidge of oil come out or not. I put some oil on it just so I could demonstrate it now, and I greased the bar nose just before I've come out. This tiny hole here in the outside of the spring assembly, so the actual starter housing looks great, but on the very outside, which holds the recoil spring, there's a tiny piece missing there. It doesn't affect its starting, obviously. Lovely air filter, correct. So again, these saws then with the hunting, depends what the gentleman's done again. These saws again use a very similar, almost identical. In fact, the 601s and the 751s are uncannily similar creatures to look at. They really are. Same plastic manifold. People do the same thing, over tighten them, cracks, all the same problems that you get with the 601 plagues the 60, 75, the 751, etc. Even on the 80s, people just it's not a strength test. So guys, there's a few. Very mindful of the time. There's so many saws to show. So it's Sunday tomorrow. We've got another day to. If I can come out early, not working. Well, working at home tomorrow. So, but what a thing of beauty. Love this shape. Hot rodish. Just absolutely gorgeous. This engine has so much compression. There's absolutely a crazy amount of compression, and then pops off the top spectacular. So as to whether or not that's leaking air on the, I'm saying it's leaking air, I don't know. It would need to be stripped apart and checked. I can't imagine it's a tank vent issue. They're just really very, very good on the Jonsereds with the nipple with the little encapsulated ball bearing. I can't imagine it's that. It seems like it fluctuates too much. So either, and I don't think it's, doesn't sound like it's a carburetor issue as such, more than a pulling air while it's throttling. So either manifold, just from experience, or crank seals. Yep. Other than that, she's just gorgeous. Hey guys. So he did tell me that this saw, though it's a show saw, he said they cut so well. And I'm just wondering whether or not, to finish off, shall we take one disc with a saw which he's just not cut with? I wonder if that blade is sharp. It's a steel full chisel, looks pretty sharp. How often do you get a chance to run them when they've come off of somebody's rack and 50 plus years old and just not used? I'll grab one disc. Let's take that there. It'll be really interesting just to see what they're like. Interesting as well. So we had some 621s there, and the 621, interestingly, is exactly the same displacement as the 60 and the 601. It's both. You'd think it was a 60cc, but it's, again, it's 45-35, nominal 56cc, just with the introduction, These, of course, are all non-AV, and they're classified by certain distinctions. So the crankcase has both the fuel tank and the oil tank in it, and they're non-AV, and the handle is integral. Just beautiful. Just a gorgeous look. Oh, the 80s, gorgeous. Let's get that girl over there. Right. Okay. Just something small. Let's just see what it cuts like. Hey guys, can't get to anything big. There's nothing here. One last thing. Safety first, guys. Hey. Safety first. There you go. We in shot. Okay. So we've got a little bit of ash. Let's be interesting. Okay. I love using old saws. Oh, throttle lock. Oh wow, she cuts beautifully, absolutely beautifully. So that's fitted with a little argon bar, 14-inch steel full chisel. Wow, definitely sharp, beautiful. That lovely, lovely old-fashioned, almost sounds like it's a 4-stroke type of old engine, just burbling through the wood, just gorgeous. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Tomorrow we're going to get to the 80, the 801. I'll see if I can get to the 90, the 930. There's so many to show. Stay safe guys. Bye for now. Hey.